To start with Walter this morning, it's great to see you, Walter. To try to get your sense.
You up there in New York City, Times Square.
I'm sorry we're not seeing you in person, but trying to understand what this story means in the larger context of public offerings, of corporate governance, and what this says about maybe where we are even in the IPO process.
Well, first of all, I'd put it in the context of founders who start companies, who tend to be like Steve Jobs or Travis Kalanick or now Adam Neumann. They have a pretty strong vision. And Adam Neumann, who I happen to have gotten to know, my wife and I, and he and Rebecca have been social friends, he understands these major transformations happening in the way we work, in the way people move to cities, into the way we need communities, and even the gig economy. The problem for corporations and corporate boards is people who have strong visions like that often aren't the ones, and this is why Steve Jobs got ousted in 1985 by the Apple board, why Travis Kalanick got ousted. These are not the ones who have the most conventional governance manners, and you have to balance that. How much strong, passionate vision do you want, and how much just plain corporate governance traditionalism do you want?
Right. Hey, Walter, given that you know Adam as well as you do, just straight up and down, is he the right person to take this company forward or not?
Yeah, he's the right person right now to launch a company that's going to be transformative. He does need, as a lot of people did, whether they were founding Google or Apple or Facebook, sort of what they used to call adult supervision on Wall Street. And he's probably not the person to be the long-term CEO. But if you're going to create a whole new industry based not just on real estate sharing, but on a notion of how we're going to co-work together and co-learn and do other things together in the future, I don't think you can build it without a visionary.
Right. Hey, Geoff, you live in the venture world. You've seen these situations before. It appears that whatever trust had been placed in Adam Neumann no longer exists. What do you do about it? What would you tell Isaacson today?
You know, I haven't seen a situation quite like this before. I think I'd probably have advice more for Adam than for Masa. I think that what we're seeing is, you know, Walter in his book on Steve Jobs wrote about the reality distortion field. I think, Walter, you mentioned it 34 times. And I really think we have two inheritors of a very powerful reality distortion field here in both Masa and Adam. And, you know, Masa's reality distortion field is that he instinctively knows what these companies are worth. He wrote a $47 billion valuation for the WeWork business on a napkin, and that seemed all-knowing. And Adam's reality distortion field is that what could potentially be a phenomenal real estate business is actually a tech business. And so one of those reality distortion fields has to cave, and I think they probably both will. And Adam ought to recap the company in the private markets, and Masa ought to stop trying to oust Adam. That's what I think they both should do.
But Geoff, here's the issue. It appears that no outside investor seems willing, at least thus far, to pony up new money to this company with Adam in place. That seems to be the message that the company has gotten over the past week, and in part the reason why Masa and others are now seeking his ouster.
Yeah, you know, I think you always got to wonder what the incentives are of the folks who are getting these messages out. I would bet that at the right price, with the right plan in place, there's a lot of capital sloshing around in the private markets, and I think at the right price, at a reasonable price, it would be a recap, it would be a down round. I believe the company could get the $2 to $3 billion capital that they need to keep going.
Hey, Walter, have you been in touch with Adam over this at all?
I've been in touch with Adam it's been a couple of months now, but we haven't talked about recapitalization. What we've talked about is the future of work. I mean, he's almost, you know, tunnel visioned in trying to figure out what the future is going to bring and how people are moving back into cities and how they need the sense of community and they need the reskilling.
Right.
And so he wants to make it not just we work, but we learn and we live and reskilling type activities. And those are the type of things we talk about.
I got to tell you, though, Walter, the investors are saying, we don't want you doing we education and we this and we that. We want you to do WeWork and stop all of the other stuff. What would you tell Adam this morning? And I know he is I imagine feeling under distress at this moment. What would you tell him to defend his turf and tell everybody, talk to the hand? Would you tell him the rational move is to step down, that's the better thing to do? What's the right advice if Adam is watching?
Well, I think that he should keep to the vision, but he is burning through a whole lot of money and doing a whole lot of things in an unfocused way. I'd do, like you bring in a Sheryl Sandberg or you bring in an Eric Schmidt if you're at Facebook and Google. I'd bring in somebody to keep the spending and the revenues more in line.
Right. Hey, Geoff, the other piece of this is, a number of the investors, including Saudi Arabia and others who are pushing in this direction, feel that they actually have very little leverage in this scenario, given the voting shares that Adam controls and real firm control of the company, and that the only way they're going to actually pressure him out of this company isn't the rational economic arguments, but maybe even suggesting, as we reported this morning, that they could try to bring legal action, make claims about self-dealing, push for investigations of how corporate money has been used or potentially misused, try to investigate further these issues about drug use, whether that was taking place on the job. I mean, if they were to go down that path, what kind of danger do they put Adam Neumann in? What kind of danger do they put the company in? And is that a successful argument?
Well, I think it's a sad argument because I think none of these issues are new discoveries. Any private markets investor who's doing the type of diligence that should be done on a business like this would have uncovered these issues before they invested. So, of course, these issues are now being floated in the press now by the investors as they try and make Adam the scapegoat, the fall person for what's just been an overvalued company. And quite honestly, the investors made the mistake of investing in the business at too high a valuation. But yeah, he is very exposed. Adam is very exposed, and he's handcuffed because the company can't really tell its side of the story. Given the SEC restrictions, they really ought to pull the IPO off the table and start telling their side of the story. But I do not like how this founder is being made the scapegoat for the mistakes of the investors.